Me and my wife moved into this house over 8 years ago. And when we were moving in, I grabbed this white trash can. I wrote the word cans on it. And I told her, don't worry, I'm going to make something to go over this trash can so it looks really nice, because this is where we put our pop cans. Or for you upperclassmen, our soda cans. And it's been 8 years. And the trash can just started falling apart itself. So I think it's time that we live up to our word. Let's make this thing look better. Let's get dusty. Bought the new trash can. Realistically, all we need to do is build a box to go around this thing. Have some way to put the cans in. We could call it good. Could, but not going to. So here's the plan, the master plan. I bought, I believe it's cherry. I think that's the type of what it is. I bought a cherry slab top. We're gonna do some kind of cool top on it. If you've ever seen one of those garbage cans that at like a Burger King or like McDonald's in like the, I don't know, 20 years ago when I started working, is they're just the box, right? And you can put the tray on top, and then you have a little door right there where you put all your garbage in through, right? And then they had a front door so you could unload. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm going to do here. So we're going to have the cool cherry top. We're going to have a side chute that we can throw the cans into. And then the little door right there. I have a really cool idea for that. If I can pull it off, I've never seen it done. And if I can do that, it might open the doors for some other projects. So let's just get into it and let's start cutting up some material. Ripping on the table saw, ripping on the table saw, rip, 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 rip. Alright, so now we gotta do some math. Now I know how wide the trash can is, and the trash can has to fit in between the facing boards, but I need the back board to be cut, the back panel to be cut at the right width, and I'm not good with math on this. So what I've gotta do is I've gotta take a groove out of the back of this, like I have right here, because if I don't have a groove, and this is the side that I slap the back panel on, when you look from the side, you're going to see that end grain. So I need to cut that notch right there so that basically it'll sit kind of like this and you won't ever see it. But then I have to figure out that into my width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip the notch first and then get my boards in here and then measure. Okay, we're going to rip this notch. I'm going to do it on a table saw. Could do it on a router. My router has my fan on it right now. Or my fan. Yes. The fan is on the router. Because it was 85 degrees when I got in here. It's 79 now. So I bought these setting blocks. They're relatively cheap. I've been buying cheaper kind of stuff like this to make my life easier. If you're interested in stuff like this, let me know. Because I'd like to do a video towards the end of the year about the cheap tools that I bought that make my life easier. Like setting blocks. This one I'm going to set down here. It's a 1/2 inch. I'm going to crank up until the center of the blade touches that. That'll give me my 1/2 inch depth that I need. Alright. Slide this fence over. Pretty much going to basically right on the edge. We're going to run that groove. Now that I have these nailed in like this is my width. I can now measure inside my groove panels and that'll give me my actual back panel width. That way I don't have to do the math. Now I have the carcass. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to face it and I'm going to put a board down there. Wasn't going to, but I think that it would be very wise, so we're going to put a board there. We're just going to face it. I'm going to show you real quick because it's just literally measure, cut, nail, glue, repeat until that thing has a face. Now we have the cabinet. Now, will the garbage can fit? Yes, I already tried it off camera, but here we go. Now it fits. Now we gotta work on the doors and the thing. Now, I'm gonna go with the shaker style. I've never done it, but I know it's super popular and everyone does it. That way I can also do a floating panel inside for the bottom, which is gonna be out of wainscoting because I think that looks cool. So let's try and do a shaker style door. And now, because of the fact that I've never built the shaker style, I'm going to build the small one first because I don't have to put a groove in it and it's smaller. And really there's no other reasons besides it's smaller and I don't have to put a groove in it. Should have to cut everything to the opening size because everything's going to essentially overlap. What I'm about to do, don't try this at home because it does feel really sketchy and stupid, but I don't know. That's what we're gonna do. So essentially you have, I forgot, one's a style, one's an odd, I don't know what you call it. That's essentially what you have, and then it slides in there. The way I did it, don't do that. I don't have a dado stack to do it. I don't really have the right router bits to do it. This did work, and it will work, and it will probably look okay once it's sanded and manipulated a little bit. But I've done some sketchy stuff on a table saw, and that is one of the most sketchy. So now I got to figure out running a groove down the one for the big one, because I did both doors at once. Since you have to do, I did all the different moving of the blade and everything. I'm gonna run a groove in the big door so I can drop my panel in. All right, so I should be able to 3/4 of the way assemble the big door, and then all the way assemble the little door, because the little door isn't going to have the insert. You just glue and put it on there, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Slide it in. This feels like it's going to be really freaking tight. This is going swimmingly. Just swimming. And while the doors are in clamps drying, we are going to putty time. We're going to putty the cabinet. The cabinet is out. We're going to putty up the nail holes, and then we can start sanding things. And then we have to start thinking about the top, because that's going to be another big thing. So this thing is going to hold pop cans in my garage. And I'm going to attempt my first ever. I'm not going to call it a river tabletop because I'm not going for like a river. I'm going to go for like a stream tabletop, because I don't have a ton of epoxy and I don't want to spend even more money on this thing. But I got this, I believe this is a cherry slab. I'm going to cut it down, debark it, run it through the planer, get it to thickness so we can start prepping this thing to do my first ever stream table pour. And fun fact, that's not the only bit of epoxy going in this. Spoiler alert! Slabs are relatively flat. I don't think it requires me to get the jig out, the router jig, and flatten it. I think it'll be far enough. This one I'm actually going to cut down quite a bit because I only need the overall width to be about 13 inches. And setting this way, I mean, there you're at 19 and there you're at almost 18. So I got to cut quite a bit off. I'm going to cut off this one because it's all poopy in the bottom right there. And then we're going to cut that there. I'll get these things sanded down and then we'll have to make a mold. But your stream's going to be right here. It'll be kind of towards the back. I want this live edge right here to be at the front. Yeah, I think we're just going to sand these things down. I think maybe we can run them through the planer a little bit. So what I'm going to do right now, because obviously I'm not going to be able to pour tonight, is I'm going to seal the edges where the river where the epoxy is going to sit. And you want to do that, I was told and I heard, because that way it prevents air from being released through the wood and it helps with decreasing of bubbles, I guess. So I'm just going to mix up a little bit of this. I'm going to brush it, seal the edges, and then after that, we've got some sanding to do, because I got to get some of this stuff in the finish for reasons unknown at the moment. Alright, so before we can do anything else, I need to get this into stain, because of the fact that this is actually going to be experimental epoxy, and the epoxy takes over a week to dry. I got to get that thing stained as soon as possible. Now, this is the insert panel that goes into the bottom door. Now, to allow for wood movement throughout the seasonal changes, especially being in the garage, I want to get this whole thing stained, so therefore during the seasonal changes, when it shrinks, you won't see the bare wood, you'll see the actual black finish that I'm going to put on. I'm going to get these things stained up, and I think I'm going to call it for the night because it's 9:30. Staining these with a true black. All over the table saw. All over the table saw. That's all over the table saw. That was, oh my gosh, it's getting worse. Alright, we are going to quickly make a couple of melamine molds. We're going to bring it over to the table saw right here, cut it down, put it together. Just going to probably screw it real quick, silicone all the edges so it should hold all of the liquid inside there, and then we're going to pour the epoxy. So while silicone dries on those molds, the last thing that I got to do on this cabinet before I finish it is add this grommet. Now I 3D printed this. I'll show you a time lapse now. Keep in mind that was an hour time lapse. Didn't do a whole lot. This was a 6-hour print. I didn't want to keep the camera on it for 6 hours. I'm going to put this on the side. Obviously I'll have to cut a hole, but cut a hole where to put this on the side, therefore I can throw the cans right from the side because the door is right here. And that way I don't have to go around and open this little flap. Just chuck them in. So I just got to cut this hole out, and then we can start sanding, and then I can get everything stained, and then maybe at some point we'll do that epoxy. Alright, we're going to attempt to get this panel in, and I would have liked to stain the inside of it, but I don't know if it's really that necessary. I'm hoping that when I go to stain this that it will look okay being almost double stained on the front panel. Gotta try to keep the glue off of the panel. Eureka! We have ourselves a shaker style cabinet, I believe. So what I'm going for on the flap is I'm going for like a stained glass type look. So I'm actually going to mix up 3 different pigments and then put them in and let it kind of do its thing for a second. And then while they're starting to harden up or whatever, I'm going to try to kind of swirl them and see if it looks cool. I've never seen this done before. It's just kind of a thought that I had, and I want to see if this will work or not. But I got to mix up 3 different colors here. I'm actually going to mix up a yellow gold, a bronze, and then a cherry. Throwing the cherry in there for fun. So this pour is going to be a little bit different. It's a lot bigger. I am going to put some black pearl in this. Mostly because I don't want the stuff to discolor over time. So now I'm going to combine the 2 into the 1 cup. That's the way I'm going to have to do it. It's going to be a multi-pour thing because I don't have enough container, but that's alright. Besides the fact I got pigment all over myself, all over the camera, everything. The porch seems to have went okay. Surprisingly, again, it's like 80 degrees in here. Not ideal. I think tomorrow morning before work, before it starts to heat up for the day, I'll bring these into my basement. But this pour, the tabletop is good. Now the window for the thing, for the flap, I'm gonna try and swirl it. This could really ruin it. The whole thing could get ruined. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. The idea is to have like a stained glass type look to it. It looks cool right now. I just wish I would do different colors. Let's just see if I can swirl it. I think that looks pretty cool, actually. Not exactly what I was going for, but I think it looks pretty cool. And I guess for the next couple hours, I'll come out here, try to pop any bubbles that come up. Hopefully this was a success.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So I understand what I'm about to do might be a terrible idea, but I gotta pull this out of the mold. Okay, first of all, it's literally like fogged over because it's like 65 degrees in my basement and it's 86 degrees in the shop. I gave it 3 days. Now I know you're supposed to give epoxy a lot longer, but this is pretty thin. It's gotta be about a 1/4 inch thin. And I wanna know if it's good or not. And I might ruin it because I can't wait, but I gotta know. I know it's a bad idea. I just want to do it anyway. So let's get this thing out of the mold and see if I just screwed up big time. Oh man, this is not going to go well. I used a silicone spray in there, thinking that would help as a release agent. Oh, this might be bad. Dude, that worked. I just wish it wouldn't be so foggy because of the temperature difference. I thought I scratched it with the chisel when I was pulling it off, but it's fine. So the way I poured that was that this is going to be the front part that you're going to see. So I knew that I figured if there's any bleeding or anything in the back, it'd be fine, and it kind of leveled off. That silicone worked as a mold releasant. Look how nice that came off. That makes me super stoked for the top. Look at that. Sorry, you can see my fingers through there. It's like a stained glass effect. That's what I was going for. How sweet is that? Alright, we're going to clean this up a little bit, wipe it down so we get some of this dust off of it. And then we actually can put a finish, like a clear coat on everything now because this is the last piece. The top doesn't really matter because it's not going to get the same clear coat anyway. So we're going to let that thing dry up for a few more days. I'm going to give that a solid week. But dude, this is pretty sweet. This worked. Like a stained glass. I'm pretty stoked, man. Alright, yeah, this I just can't get over this. Like, look how sweet this thing looks. I got it taped up because I don't want to get any urethane on it. But after when I did my Urban River table and I didn't use any silicone or mold release, I was terrified that I just ruined that thing. So I am very grateful for that. We're going to throw a couple coats of this on there, and then we're going to wait a few days for the top to get finished up. I don't know if I love the gold hinges or not. I thought it'd be really nice having all the hardware gold, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if that really gives me what I'm looking for. And when I bought those weren't even the original hinges. The original hinges had a spring to them so it would hold it shut. And now that I don't have those, I'm gonna have to add like a little latch, which really I think might look kind of nice right up by the knob. If I just drop this knob down about there and then put a little gold latch there, I think that might look all right. I don't know. And then the top also wants to push and move in, but I'm gonna add a magnet in there, which isn't a big deal. Because originally I was gonna have that swing on, and I realized how stupid that was. But just waiting on the top to dry now, and then we can attach the top and call this good. All right, it has been just over a week since we poured this epoxy. Now it is 82 degrees in the shop right now. It is over 90 degrees outside. I just got into the shop. It's already risen 2 degrees. I'm gonna try to do this as fast as possible without dying of heat stroke. Let's see if we can get this thing out of the mold and see how it looks. Oh my gosh, it actually came apart pretty good. Whew. Oh, that sealing cone I put on to help seal it, that didn't hold right here. I think we can work with it. All right, I have a couple options on what I need to do now to get the slab ready for finish. As you can see here, we leaked a bit here. Not a huge deal. These are stuck to the top, but the biggest deal is that there's a lip right here. So I'm gonna do is on the table saw, I'm gonna cut this flush, make this look pretty, and then I think I'm actually gonna rip it down to just under 13 inches because my planer only goes to 13 inches wide, and it would be much easier to get this thing flatter instead of doing the whole routering sled thing. So we're gonna cut this thing down to finish sizes and hopefully rip it through the planer, get her nice and dialed in. So because I thought I would take the easy way out and not flatten the slab, yes, I know that just running it through a planer doesn't get the thing flat. I know that. I thought I could get away with not doing it. I should have hooked up the router sled, did it that way. Anyways, because I didn't do it that way, this thing is a little thinner than what I was hoping for. It's still just probably about an inch thick, which isn't bad, but I had to take off so much material that I opened up that hole right there. And also, you see this line? Yeah, my planer blades need to get replaced. Never replaced them. It's a second-hand planer, but I'll have to figure that out. So I'm gonna put a little bit of 5-minute epoxy in this hole, so hopefully I can get this thing sanded tonight. I'd like to get this thing started and get this thing to finish so we get this project completed. All right, we're gonna get this thing sanded up to 220, and then we'll get some finish on her so we can install the top. We are gonna finish this with a Hellsman clear gloss urethane. Now I used a satin on the cabinet itself, and I think that the gloss and the satin kind of contrast itself. I was hoping that the high gloss would maybe help this pop a little bit more, but that was my kind of thought process. We're probably gonna do about 3 or 4 coats of this, and yeah, and we should be able to put the top on. Just like that, we're done. I think this looks way better than the white trash can. As my first ever set of shaker style cabinet doors, it has a custom side chute. If the side chute isn't big enough for like a 2 liter, that's what you got this for, right? So I also did my first ever river table top, and I did my first ever attempt at a stained glass epoxy window, which I think turned out absolutely fantastic. I think it sets the whole thing off. Now you guys voted on my social medias whether you wanted the gold hinges or the black, and I will say I think you are right to go with the black. I think they do look a lot better. Was this overkill to put in my garage? Probably. Did I have a lot of fun and learn a lot of new things? I did, definitely. Does it look better? Yes. Women, if your man says he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it. Just might take him 8 years. Be patient. See you guys in the next project.